Hey everybody! Well, I finally got my new computer all fixed up, and of course it didn't take long before I started itching to get Skyrim Special Edition modded up for some more role-playing fun. And as tempting as it was to just start downloading mods, I knew from experience that it's important to first prepare the toolkit. So I'm going to do a couple of videos about setting up the tools that we need to go about modding correctly. Now I knew that I absolutely, definitely, without a doubt, wanted a mod manager, and you will too. And of the two most commonly used right now, either Vortex or Mod Organizer 2, I knew, again, that absolutely, definitely, without a doubt, I wanted Mod Organizer 2. I actually think it's a superior tool with more flexibility, and it keeps all my mod files completely separate from my game folder, which is nice and clean and makes me feel good. Now, it's totally personal preference, so I'm not knocking anybody who uses Vortex, but all of my modding is done with MO2, and so that's what you're going to see here. Now, I was starting with a completely blank slate with the new computer, and it's 2020, so things have changed since I did this before. And I wanted to be sure I started off on the right foot. So I took the time to watch some videos, of course. I relied really heavily on the expert advice from Michael over at GamerPoets. He has some superb modding videos covering almost all of the tools that I downloaded. And I have shameless plugs for the GamerPoets channel throughout this video. Go watch his tutorials. They are short and catchy, but full of info, and I have links for all of them provided below. If you are a Vortex user, then my other favorite modder, Gopher, has some great tutorials using that platform, so you can go check him out for that. On with the installation. So Michael at GamerPoets tells me that before I install MO2, there are a couple of things that I need to do. First, I have to get Visual C++. So I go to this page that he kindly linked in his video, and I download the recommended x64 version by clicking on it, and then waiting a few seconds. I find the file in my Downloads folder, which I can access in Firefox by clicking on this little downward arrow in the upper right-hand corner and selecting the picture of the folder. When that window pops up, I can then install Visual C++ by double-clicking on the file. You scroll through the license, click the I agree box, and then click on Install. Wait a few seconds for the install. And then I can see it requires a computer restart. Of course, I can't record while it's doing that, so you won't see me doing it. But rest assured that I followed the instructions and restarted my system at this point. Alright, once I was booted back up, it was time for the next step. And that was to install Skyrim Special Edition, which I'd already done. And I made sure to put it into its own folder. Now, very, very important point here. Make sure you do not install the game directly into your programs or Programs 86 folders. I can't stress this enough. If you've already done that, then it's imperative that you move your game folder now. And do it now. Again, I can't stress it enough. It's not that hard to move it. There are instructions here. I'll provide a link below. Do not do anything else until you've moved that darn game folder out of Programs or Programs 86. I wish Bethesda would just change that default and have it install in everyone's computer outside of those folders, but they don't. So you have to pay attention to that when you're installing. Okay, so with my SSE game folder installed in a modding acceptable place, I needed to go ahead and launch the unmodded game once in preparation for later steps. I used the desktop shortcut to launch the game. If you don't have that shortcut, then you can do it through Steam, or you have to navigate to the folder where you installed the game executable and just double-click on it to launch. Now, when the game launched for the first time, I had to click OK a couple of times while things got set up, and then that was it. I just exit from the window at that point. You don't actually have to hit play. You don't have to start a character. Just exit from that first window. Alright, so now I've got my game installed inside a folder called Steam inside my root, which is the C directory. I've also decided to put all my modding stuff in a folder in the root directory that I've called modding. You can set yours up however you want, as long as you remember a couple of really important rules. First of all, like I already said, do not install the game into your program files or program files x86. And another important rule I haven't mentioned yet, do not install Mod Organizer 2 in your game folder. Okay, let's move on to that. So with C++ installed, with the game installed and launched at least once, I was now ready to install MO2. So I headed over to its page on the Nexus. The link is below. I make sure I'm logged in. I can tell because I see my little avatar up here. And then I go to the Files tab. There are two choices here, and Michael at GamerPoets says I should download the installer version, so that's what I'm going to do. I click on the manual download button, and then I have to choose the very stupidly named slow download button because I'm not a premium member. I click Save File when the pop-up window pops up. I wait till it's downloaded, which in Firefox means this little arrow up here in the corner flashes. I click on the arrow, select the folder picture, and then find the downloaded file there. I can install right from here by double-clicking on the MO2 installer file in that window. Just scroll through the license agreement. Read every word very carefully. And then click Accept and Next. At this window, I have to decide where I wanted to put Mod Organizer 2. As I mentioned, do not put it in the game folder. I wouldn't put it into the Steam folder at all. And also, do not put it into the Programs or Programs 86 folders. I'm putting it into the folder I'm called Modding. I already created it for that purpose. I can select the Browse button here to navigate to the folder that I want, or I could create a new one right from here if I wanted to. Now it wants to call the installation folder MO2, wherever I've chosen to put it, and that's fine with me, so I click OK, then Next. Here I scroll down, I leave all the defaults as they are, but then I check the very last box because I want it to be able to connect MO2 with the Nexus for downloading mods. I click Next, and now it wants to create a folder in the Start menu called Mod Organizer. This doesn't really matter to me because I don't really use the Start menu. I tend to use desktop shortcuts, so I don't really care about this at all. I just ignore it and I click Next. Now, I do definitely want a desktop shortcut, since that's how I generally operate. So I click this box to create a desktop shortcut, and then I hit Next. I get one last chance to double check the paths, which looks good. So I hit Install, and then I wait while it does its thing. And when it's done, this window pops up. I want to go ahead and start MO2 now, so I leave this box ticked, and then I hit Finish. Since I'm installing MO2 for the first time, when it pops up or when it launches, I get this window and I have to choose an instance. I selected New here, but I now know that there are circumstances where you want to select Portable. I don't really understand it enough to comment more, so we're going to leave it at that. In the next window, I select SSE using the drop-down menu and then click OK. This little instruction window pops up, but I'm going to ignore that because I'm actually going to set the paths in a minute. So I click OK, select SSE again, which MO2 recognizes since I've launched the game. at least once, like I just did a little bit ago. And then MO2 will start to open. I click no here on the tutorial question because I'm not new to MO2. But if you are new to MO2, I highly recommend you click yes and just go through the tutorial here. And then it finishes opening, and voila! MO2 is installed. Now, I could leave all the defaults and just get busy adding other tools, but I've already decided that I want to change some of the paths where things are stored in MO2. Now, I have to say that right now, at the very beginning, is the only time to mess with these paths. Once you start downloading mods, do not, let me say that again, do not change any paths. So following Michael's tutorial again from GamerPoets, I decided I did not want all my MO2 stuff to be in the app data folder, which is where it goes by default. So I go into Tools, which is the little wrench and screwdriver icon, and I select the Paths tab to make some changes. I click on the button showing 3 dots, browse to where I want. I want my base directory to be in the MO2 folder within the modding folder I made. You can put it wherever you want, but that's what I decided. So I go there and I make a new folder for that, and then I click Select Folder. Now this actually affects all of the paths, so now everything is actually going to be inside of that folder. And that's what this window here is warning me, but that's what I want, so I click yes. Now remember, I'm going to say this again, do not change these paths if you've already started using MO2. And once it is set, do not change it, like ever. Consider it set in stone forever and ever and ever, and don't touch it again. Never. Okay. So the next step is to make Mod Organizer 2 and Nexus talk to each other. So I go back to the tools, I click Associate with Download with Manager Links button, and then I click Connect to Nexus. This will take you to the Nexus page where I enter my username, my password, I swear on my firstborn that I'm not a robot, and then I hit log in. I do want MO2 to access my Nexus account, so I click authorize here, and then I celebrate whoop whoop at the success window and navigate back to MO2. I click OK, then I'm asked to restart MO2, so I go ahead and do that. Once MO2 opens up again, I want to double check that my Nexus connection is working properly. So I navigate back to the Nexus window and I search up a mod that I know I want, like SkyUI. It's a pretty basic one. In the Files tab, I hit Mod Manager Download, and then I note that this pop-up here says I also need SKSE, which I'll handle in a minute. So I select Download, and then Slow Download since I don't have Premium. This is the first mod I'm downloading from Nexus into MO2, so I get this pop-up window. I select NXM Link Proxy, and then tick the box for Remember My Choice, and click Open Link. Now I go back over to MO2, and in the Downloads tab in the right-hand side, I can see that SkyUI has downloaded. So this confirms that I've got that MO2 and Nexus connection working. Yay! It makes life so much easier. Now I know I want to keep SkyUI, so I'm going to go ahead and install it by right-clicking over here in the right-hand pane and selecting Install. I could have also just double-clicked on it. Remember in MO2 though that even if you install the mod, it's not actually active until you turn it on by ticking the box next to it in the left-hand pane, which I go ahead and do now. It doesn't really matter because it's not going to do anything until after we've gotten through the next step anyway. Okay, so moving on. Now, if you noticed when I tried to download SkyUI, it said I needed SKSE. And yes, I do. And so does everyone else if they're actually going to use mods in their game. So that's the very first tool that I'm going to install. And I'm going to do this in or through MO2. And I'm going to again rely on an excellent tutorial from Michael at GamerPoets, which the link is below. I navigate to the SKSE webpage using the link that Michael kindly provides in his video. And I note that I need to make sure I get the right SKSE version that matches the Skyrim Special Edition version of the game that I'm using. So let's check that game version. So I navigate to my SSE game folder. I find the game executable. I right-click on it and select Properties. Under the Details tab, I can see that my product version is 1.5.97. So that's what I'm looking for. Over on the SKSE webpage, I see that this download here is listed for runtime 1.5.97. So that's the right one. I click on the 7Z archive to download it. I'm fine with this default that pops up here of just having it open right in 7-zip. So I leave that ticked and I click OK. SKSE downloads and then the file contents automatically pop up right here in a 7-zip window. I just slide that window to the side. I'm going to use it in just a minute. And then I open up my SSE game folder right next to it. To easily extract the files, and this is just one way of several to do it, I first select them all in the 7-zip window by holding Shift while I click the first and the last items on the list to select them all. And then I just drag and drop them right into my SSE game folder. Now, unlike MO2, you do want SKSE inside your Skyrim game folder. Otherwise, it won't work. And it needs all these other files with it, so just extract all the 7-zip SKSE stuff right here into the same place where you have your Skyrim Special Edition executable. And that's it. SKSE is now installed. Now MO2 doesn't yet know that I have SKSE installed, but this is important because it's the only way I'm going to launch my game from now on. I'm going to open MO2 and I'm going to launch the game from there by clicking on an SKSE button or clicking Run. I'll show you that in just a minute. Let me repeat that. It bears repeating. Now that I have SKSE installed and I want to use mods, I will only launch the game now using SKSE. I will never use the default Bethesda launcher. Say that together. That's the mod code. I will never use the default Bethesda launcher. Except caveat. All right. If you don't launch the game through SKSE, you actually won't have any mods active in the game, at least if you're using MO2. All right, so I need to add SKSE to my list of executables right here in MO2. And the easiest way to do this is to actually just close MO2 and reopen it, because MO2 is smart enough to actually see that I've installed SKSE and add it automatically. So I do that here. I close MO2, close all these other folders because I'm done with those, and I restart MO2. And now you can see that SKSE shows up in the list of programs that I can execute right here through the mod organizer. I want to double check it's working properly, so I select SKSE in the drop-down menu, and then I hit Run. Now remember, that's how I have to start my game from now on. So I wait until the game launches, and then I can double check to make sure SKSE is active by opening the console, which I do that using the little tilde key. That's the squiggly line. It's right underneath Escape on the left side of my keyboard. And I type, all as one word, get SKSE version, and I hit Enter. And then I can see it returns the SKSE version, meaning that yes, the game recognizes I'm running SKSE. So all is well. I can go ahead and close the game again because I've got more to do before I can play. Now you may, as I did at first, not be able to figure out how to close the game from here. You have to close the console first, so just hit that tilde key again, which will close the console. Then you can go ahead and hit quit and get back out of the game. All right, now thanks to the addition of the Creation Club by Bethesda, there's a few considerations for playing Skyrim Special Edition that are different from the original game. Number one is that Bethesda pushes updates which can break SKSE and thus break all of your mods until the authors of the tools catch up. Yeah, thanks a lot, Bethesda. But fortunately, the modding community is smart, and there are a couple of things that I know I can do to prevent that, or at least to make sure that it happens on my terms rather than on Bethesda's terms. So thanks again to Michael at GamerPoets for his tutorials on this subject. Links are below. First, I'm going to follow his video about changing my Steam settings so that updates won't automatically be pushed to my computer. And following Michael's kind instructions, I open up Steam. I use my little icon tray thingy down here. Open Steam however you normally do. Select Library, and then right-click on The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition and select Properties. In the window that opens up, I go to the Updates tab, and under the Automatic Updates section at the top, I can use the drop-down menu to select Only update the game when I launch it. And then I close the window. Now the reason this works is because I won't be launching the game, ever. At least according to Bethesda. Because I'm going to be using SKSE from now on, instead of using the Bethesda launcher. So this will prevent the game from automatically updating, as long as I only ever use the SKSE launch method. Now, I should note here that I will at some point want to update my game, but only after SKSE and the mods have caught up to any changes. But I'm now in control of that, so I can decide when is the right time to do it. When it is time to update, I can just launch the game using the Bethesda launcher a single time, and that should be enough to do it. Now there's one other cool thing I can do to help with this issue, and that is to install a mod called the Address Library. And again, a shout out to Michael at GamerPoets for his tutorial on this. I won't claim to really understand what it does, except that I believe it's a tool that mod authors can use to help prevent the Bethesda updates from breaking their mods. It sounds like a great thing to me, and it doesn't take up an ESP slot, so hey, sign me up. So I just head over to the mod page on Nexus. I go to the Files tab, select the all-in-one version, and click Mod Manager Download, and then Slow Download for the plebeian non-members like me. Back over in MO2, I can click on the Downloads tab in the right-hand pane. I can right-click on the all-in-one file, which is the name they gave the download for some reason, and then I select Install and OK to do a quick install of the Address Library for SKSE Plugins mod. And then over in the left-hand pane, I go ahead and I activate the two mods that I've got. I tried to endorse them both at this point, but it wouldn't let me endorse the Address Library yet. You can see the error message I get at the bottom of the screen. I suppose MO2 knows that I just downloaded it and I haven't actually tried it out yet, so it's trying to prevent me from cheating by giving an endorsement for something I haven't actually tried yet. Yeah, whatever. So this seems like a pretty good place to stop for now. This has taken a lot longer than I expected, so I'm going to split the Toolkit videos up into multiple sessions. So here in this first one, I covered the adventures of getting MO2 and SKSE installed. These are not tutorial videos. It's really just, come along with me on my journey. For tutorials, again, I highly recommend you visit GamerPoets, as well as, particularly if you're a Vortex user, that you would visit Gopher's site. Now, next time, the next video, I'll cover adding all the mod-related executable tools that I'm going to need alongside MO2. I hope you'll join me for that. But anyway, thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!